Um, I'm a historian of religions, and that's a whole field, history of religions, right? Who focuses on the comparative philosophy of culture. I'm interested in social justice and how to work towards structural peace, so I'm attracted to points of conflict, particularly in terms of religious violence, in order to understand why the encounter between religious traditions is so often fraught with violence. Why is it that race, gender, and sexual identities are so central to what we call the culture wars? So if you are wondering what a white girl from Wyoming is doing teaching 3 courses a year in the African American and Diaspora Studies Department, hopefully that explanation helps to explain why. As far as I can tell, we all need to think deeply and carefully about what and who we know in American culture and how we work together. So I pursue that comparative philosophy from my place with material I find the richest. So I was raised in Wyoming, then went east to ski race and ended up at one of the most challenging colleges in the U.S., which happened to have one of the most important philosophers of religion of our time, from whom I took Religion 1000, and I was hooked. Why do I tell you those things? I went to Williams College, a little town college that probably nobody's heard of, but there's a kind of intensity that I seek out, and it's gonna impact this course. I'll just let you know that. So took Religion 1000. People said, this is the question everybody needs to ask. What professor should I take a course with? I ask that question. They say Religion 1000. I say, no, not religion. My dad was an Episcopal minister. I didn't have a bad experience with the church, but when you're a minister's kid, you do your best to, often, many of us do, to steer clear of religion. And nevertheless, I was hooked. I just covered that. Professor Taylor introduced us to the comparative study of religion, where we use philosophy, sociology, psychology, and history to develop an interdisciplinary study of the role of religious traditions in people's lives and in the larger fields of culture. So you can be in this field and be a specialist in psychology of religion, sociology of religion, like, do you want to go into the head? How does this stuff work? Do you want to go more broadly? How does it work sociologically? But you end up having to deal in an interdisciplinary frame. I knew I wasn't headed to a seminary, but what Professor Taylor offered me was a can opener, so I could open up the can of worms that is clearly still central to what makes our world tick in our post-9/11 reality. Right? 21st century was ushered in, particularly from the American perspective, in terms of religious violence. I want the tools to read the pulse that is religious power as it works in our world. And that's what this field does for me. All right, so where have I been? Went to grad school at Syracuse University. My first job was at the University of Stirling in Scotland. I taught there for 5 years, had 2 kids there. Came back to raise those kids in Wyoming because it's a great place to raise kids. My first book, The Hammer and the Flute, Women, Power, and Spirit Possession, Comparative Philosophy, looking at personhood when people are receptive to and spoken through by ancestors, deities, spirits. And what do you think about the person whose voice is not a speaking voice, it's a spoken through voice? How do you think about subjectivity in that case? It actually won an award. I can tell you're all racing to go get the book now. But anyway, it did win an award. It's supposed to be a good book. Then here's the second thing I've produced, a special issue in the journal Culture and Religion on the work of possessions. So with Oh, that was later. What happened to... Just one second. Give me a second, all right? This is third. There's one more of these, which is the special issue on hip-hop and religion. 2003, maybe? Oh, there it is. I think I put it in the wrong place. There it is. Okay. And for those of you who are really organized and you realize that I have a few symptoms you'll have to deal with this semester, yeah, that was one of them. All right, hip-hop and religion. And with there's some great articles as we move into contemporary African-American religious culture. You may find that this would be a handy little journal to get hold of. Through UW's library, you can find every article in this journal right there on your screen. All right, so that was the second thing. Here we go. This one I'm proud of, Recognizing W.B. Du Bois in the 21st Century. I organized a international conference in Scotland that looked at the work of Frantz Fanon and W.B. Du Bois. I should say Du Bois first. He preceded Fanon by 30, 40 years. So the proceedings from that paper got published here. All right, so that's kind of some of my intellectual history. I am now moving more into study of the thing called the American West. And so the particular American context comparing cultural worldviews, Native American, settler American, and where we're at in the 21st century. That's kind of where I'm going. All right. Oh, and this one, a friend just brought this by me. I thought you guys should know, keep your eye open for African-American cultural gems that you can explore during this semester particularly. If you never bought Ebony magazine, try buying it. You ever watch Black Entertainment Television, BET? Try it. Apparently they just picked up the series The Game, for those of you who are football fans. All right. So that's going to be, I hope, fun for you this year. All right, we're back to the course now, right? Oh. It's a writing intensive seminar, covers the comparative study of African American religious culture. For this week, all you got to do is read the intro of our first book. Ta-da! And I know that lots of you don't get the first book in the first week, and some of you are still wondering, do I even belong here? That's why it's very short reading out of this book. It might take you a week to get your feet under you to get the books here. I understand that. They are at the bookstore, and if you don't find this course there, that's because it's an outreach course, and they often put the outreach books in a different place. But I realize plenty of you are not on campus. I got it. So you got a full week to get to this, and maybe you can read it through the Look Inside pages. I don't know, on Amazon.com. So that's a short reading assignment, and you're going to participate on the discuss thread this week. And the second reading is my intro lecture about methodology. So this week you've actually got all the foundation for the rest of the semester, because this course runs on 2 tracks. It runs on methodology. We've got to figure out, what are we calling religion, right? When people are making music, when is it culture, when is it religion? How are we going to make some of these distinctions, especially once you're looking at somebody else's culture who might never have even had the word religion in it? So how are you going to decide what is and is not information about African American religious culture? We got to figure out what the word religion means for our purposes and how we're going to use it in this class. That's the methodology. We're going to follow Charles H. Long's work, and that's the first thing you'll read in that little lecture. And so we are going to study religion as an orientation to the ultimate significance of one's place in the world. Then, so methodology is one track that will follow us through every bit of this, because if we don't know technically what we are studying, we will not know how to ask good questions with each new bunch of information. Methodology helps focus the study, and then the information is the second track. We are going to learn good information, and the beginning intro of this provides you with an adequate overview of the slave trade, the historical context in which our first book is written. You want to commit that to memory, and so you're going to leave this class, right, knowing approximately how many people over how many centuries from which areas of Africa were dispersed across the Caribbean and Americas through the European slave trade toward the goal of developing the mercantile capitalism of the 16th to 19th centuries. So that the term African diaspora is going to mean a lot to you by the time you're done with this. It's going to mean from where to where, what is that triangle of trade that was created across the Atlantic, and how was the dispersion of African people through that economic system accomplished, and what were the existential impacts of that dispersion, right? So after this narrative, which I really think will blow you away if you haven't already read it or know about this, we're going to focus on 2 weeks of reading that, 1 week of Black Magic. We're just going to read the intro and first chapter on this, so that will be a PDF you can find in the course. Or this gal is so good. She is so good. If you think that a rich, complex picture of early African American slave religion matters to you, hoodoo, conjure, root work, any of that stuff, you want the book. On to the second section of the course, Reconstruction to the Civil Rights Movement, will be Du Bois and Souls of Black Folk. This copy was $2 when I got it. These Penguin editions, fabulous. One of the most important books of American philosophy, sociology, and psychology. All right here. Oops. Civil Rights Movement, Black Theology of Liberation, James Cone. We will get hot in this classroom. Woohoo! Then we're going to move across Voodoo, Yoruba, Nation of Islam, and humanist worlds of African American religious culture. In this, varieties of African American religious experience. That's my phone. It's my child. He's homesick. I'll just put him aside for 1 minute here. Black womanist ethics. Oh, that's really annoying. Oh, here. Got to love the silence. All right. When we move into hip hop and feminist, black feminist stuff at the end of the course, Katie Cannon will be our reading. All right, guys, I've given you more than I meant to, and I look forward to hitting the ground running, because that's how I've set it up. Again, thank you. Hang on, I promise I'm making this a course I think you'll love. No, I don't think that. I don't think that you'll love it. I think it's going to be good.